a lot of your, as you know, a lot of your supporters, fans of your show, think that you may have been lured into a trap. Did anything while you were there make you think you were being lured into a trap?
I don't know that a lot of my fans think that I was being lured into a trap.
4.5 hours later, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry.
There's going to be an understandable amount of angst that people feel. And I certainly felt the angst as well.
I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive.
I've obviously been very clear that I am suspicious of some of the characters that are at Turning Point USA. So I totally understand why the public was concerned. I don't know that a lot of my fans think that I was being lured into a trap.
I, first and foremost, do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that.
I do feel confident that he was involved in some capacity on that day, as I have said many times on my show. I will be very clear here. I do not believe Tyler Robinson assassinated Charlie Kirk.
Whether he was involved, I think the answer is yes. I think that's obvious.
And so I do think he was involved, and multiple people were involved that day. And I think he did pick up clothes.
Candace, I want to get to the reality of what you're actually saying. So when you say that somebody at Turning Point USA, Charlie's company, was complicit in his murder, who was?
I believe that there were multiple people at Turning Point who are, as I have said many times, my exact words are, they are engaged in a cover-up of what happened to Charlie on that day.
No, but who was involved in his murder?
I didn't say that they murdered Charlie.
You said that people at Turning Point were complicit in his murder.
No, my exact sentence that I said was that there were people at Turning Point who are engaged in a cover-up.
No, you didn't.
I believe
Sorry,
that
you didn't.
Thoroughly.
Candace, you didn't say that.
There had to have been multiple people involved. There had to have been people at Turning Point that were complicit in having this happen. Now, who knows what their motivations are? Doesn't mean...
You said literally...
I did say that on my entire show.
You said there were people at Turning Point complicit in his murder.
Okay. There had to have been multiple people involved. There had to have been people at Turning Point that were complicit in having this happen. Now...
That's what you said.
When you and I were discussing, that's why I said, let's go back.
But you specifically said, you didn't say complicit in a cover-up. You said complicit in the murder. Because I said, who at Turning Point was involved in his murder? And
let me clarify for you. Okay, you can keep saying what I said, or you can listen to what I am saying.
Okay.
There had to have been multiple people involved. There had to have been people at Turning Point that were complicit in having this happen. What about his burial? How come we haven't seen anything about his burial? We saw so much, and then we saw nothing. And the reason that's like a big hush-hush secret is because Charlie had a Catholic funeral mass, and he is buried in a Catholic cemetery. Yeah.
Repeatedly questioned why we weren't being told where Charlie Kirk is buried, or even if he has been buried yet. Did you get those answers?
You have the wrong commentator who questioned that. How come we haven't seen anything about his burial? You knew where he was buried? I ask myself occasionally whether or not they cremated Charlie, because that is starting to make sense to me that they would do that.
You've never questioned, you've never asked where Charlie's buried?
Nope.
Candace Owens is using this cocktail of tactics in every episode, in every interview, in every conversation, and every little speech that she gives. She is gaslighting and manipulating her audience. She also twists things. She takes small things and twists them into things that they're not. Her goal is to confuse people. It's also to escape accountability. If she manages to say yes and no in the same sentence, you can't say that she didn't say yes, and you can't say that she didn't say no. When she says something is both true and false, when you say that she said it was false or when she said it was true, she can say, well, I also said it was true or false. Some of her tactics include equivocation. Equivocation is a logical fallacy and rhetorical tactic used ambiguous, double-meaning language to mislead, hide the truth, or avoid commitment. It relies on shifting the definition of a key term mid-argument. It is often used in politics, advertising, and arguments to deceive. Doublethink is a term coined in George Orwell's 1984. It is the ability to simultaneously hold and believe two contradictory beliefs as true. It acts as a mechanism of ideological control, allowing the party to manipulate reality by forcing citizens to accept contradictions, such as war is peace, or in Candace's case, involved and didn't do it. Key characteristics include conscious deception followed by forgetting the act of cheating, using logic against logic. Moving the goalpost is a manipulative tactic where someone constantly changes expectations, criteria, or rules to ensure you never succeed or meet their demands. Often used by narcissists, it keeps victims in a state of confusion, exhaustion, and self-doubt, requiring them to constantly prove themselves while their accomplishments are ignored. In Candace's case, it's creating a new conspiracy once her previous conspiracy was debunked. She never acknowledges the debunking. She doubles down and pushes forward with a brand new conspiracy. And of course, gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of persistent psychological manipulation and emotional abuse, where a perpetrator makes a victim question their own memories, perceptions, or sanity, often to gain control. It involves denying facts, twisting reality, and causing the victim to feel confused or insecure. Candace was gaslighting Pierce Morgan that entire conversation. She's gaslighting everybody every day. Her fans never fact-checked her, they never question her. In fact, if you have a conversation with one of her fans, they can't even really tell you what it is that Candace Owens believes or the facts or the evidence that she's shown. She tells them she has, but in truth, she has not. But because of all these contradictions, they are in a constant state of confusion. What they're left with is brainwashing.